You wake up feeling good. Finally, a good day. So you do what you've been wanting to do for weeks. You clean the house, you run errands, you feel productive. You feel like yourself again. And then the crash. The next day, you're completely wiped out. The pain is worse, the fatigue is overwhelming, and you're left feeling defeated, guilty, and frustrated with yourself. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something. You're not weak, you're not failing. You're caught in something called the boom and bust cycle. And I'm going to show you how to escape it. So here's what's happening in your body. You've probably been told your entire life, just push through it. No pain, no gain. Don't let the pain win. But your nervous system has changed. It's become overly sensitive. We call this central sensitization. Your alarm system is set too high. So when you push through on a good day, you're actually triggering that overly sensitive alarm system. You're reinforcing the pain pathways in your nervous system. You're teaching your body that activity equals danger. And then your body responds with a crash, a flare-up, to force you to stop and protect yourself. So this isn't a failure or willpower. This isn't your fault. This is simply your nervous system doing exactly what it's been trained to do. So the good news is your nervous system can be retrained. That's called neuroplasticity. And in this video, we're going to explore how we can use neuroplasticity to finally add consistency back to your life and minimize flare-ups through what I like to call purposeful pacing. Now, I know what you're maybe thinking, but if I do less, won't I get weaker? Won't I lose my capacity for movement? It makes sense why you think that way. You've been told your whole life that you have to push to get stronger. And that advice makes sense if you're an athlete competing at the highest level. But if you're someone living with chronic pain, your nervous system is playing by a different set of rules. And to get better, we need to acknowledge that. So pacing is about working with your sensitized nervous system. Simply put, it's about doing less in the short term to allow you to do more in the long term without the crash. So let's jump into the 4 steps of the purposeful pacing framework. Step 1 is to find your baseline. Pick one activity that you enjoy, that you want to do more of. So walking, cooking, gardening, socializing, whatever matters to you. For the next 3 days, track how long you can do this activity comfortably. Not pushing yourself, just comfortably, where your pain does not spike significantly. So let's use walking for our example. So the first day, you may do 10 minutes. The second day, you maybe did 12 minutes. The third day, you maybe did 8 minutes because you didn't sleep as well the night before. So you have an average of 10 minutes. Now, here's the important part. We don't want to start at 10 minutes. We reduce it by 20% to create a safety buffer. I know that feels low, but remember this. This number is not a reflection of your ability. It's simply your nervous system comfort zone right now. Your baseline is the amount you can do consistently, even on a bad day, without triggering a crash. So step 2 is to create a pacing plan. So using your baseline of 8 minutes, you're going to schedule this activity. So for the next week, you'll walk for 8 minutes and only 8 minutes every day. Now, here's where it may get a little bit frustrating. Even if you feel fantastic on Tuesday and feel like you could walk for an hour, keep yourself to those 8 minutes. And if you feel terrible on Sunday and feel like you can barely get out of bed, still do your best to walk for 8 minutes. No matter how good or bad you feel in a certain day, you stick to that lower level, that 8 minutes. The goal here isn't to push yourself, to burn calories, or to get intense exercise. It's to build consistency. You're proving to your nervous system that an 8-minute walk is safe. You're creating a new pathway in your brain that says, walking is okay. I can do this. It doesn't hurt me. You're staying within your safe zone. Now, again, I know this can feel frustrating. You're going to have days where you feel great and want to do more. But I want to emphasize that this initial consistency is what stops the cycle. If you feel great and overdo it one day of the week, it may result in a crash and you're back to square one. So stick to your plan, do your 8 minutes every day for 1 week. Here's what happens in your body. After a week of successfully completing your 8-minute walks with no flare-ups, you're going to feel something you maybe haven't felt in a long time. Trust in your body. And that trust is the foundation of getting better and showing your nervous system that movement is safe. The third step is to plan for breaks. Now, not all activities have a clear time limit like walking. So what about cleaning the kitchen? What about attending a social event? What about working? This is where proactive breaks come in. And this is one of the most powerful tools in the purposeful pacing framework. You have to schedule breaks before you need them, not when your pain is screaming at you to stop. So let's say you're cleaning the kitchen. You know you often get a bit of discomfort after cleaning for 20 minutes. So you set a timer for 15 minutes. When that timer goes off, you stop. Even if you're in the middle of something, even if you feel fine, and you sit down and rest for 5 minutes. Or let's say you're at a family gathering. You know these events usually last a few hours, and by the end, your body is in agony. So instead of waiting for that initial wave of discomfort to hit, you plan to step outside or go to a quiet room every 30 minutes for a quick 5-minute break. Now, I want to clarify something. A break doesn't have to mean stopping entirely. It can be a change in position, a change in the demands of the task, slowing down, sitting instead of standing. And here's why this works. You're managing your energy like a bank account. You're never letting it go into overdraft. Because once you're in overdraft, it takes days to recover. And I want to reframe how you think about breaks. Breaks are not a sign of weakness. Breaks are not giving into the pain. As I mentioned earlier, breaks often aren't even stopping entirely. Breaks are a strategic tool that allow you to do more of what you want to do. They're the reason you can attend that family gathering without paying for it for the next 3 days. They're the reason you can eventually go for a long walk without feeling the soreness afterwards. Yes, they're hard to do when you're feeling great, but they're going to be a big factor in your long-term success. And now step 4 is where you start to see your consistency pay off. This is when you can start adding gradual and planned increases to your activities. After a week of successfully completing your 8-minute walks with no flare-ups, you've earned the right to increase. But, and this is crucial, we do it really slowly. You will increase your walking time by no more than 10 to 20%. So instead of 8 minutes, you'll now walk for 9 or maybe 10 minutes for the following week. I know this increase feels slow. I know it might feel like you're barely making progress, but here's the truth. This slow, steady progression is the fastest path back to a sustainable, active life. If you try to jump from 8 minutes to 20 minutes because you're feeling good, you're going to crash. And then you're back at square one, or worse, you're back in bed for 3 days feeling defeated. But if you increase by just 10% each week, and you do that consistently, here's what happens. Week 1, 8 minutes. Week 2, 9 minutes. Week 3, 10 minutes. Week 4, 11 minutes. Week 5, 12 minutes. Week 12, 20 minutes. Week 24, 40 minutes. So within a few months, you're walking 30, 40, maybe even 60 minutes, and you're doing it without the crashes, without the fear, without the guilt. It's now just part of your routine, and you've taught your nervous system that movement is safe. So this is how we reverse the changes in your nervous system. This is how we expand your capacity in a sustainable way. And this framework applies to any activity. Cooking, cleaning, socializing, working. The principles are the same. Find your baseline, create a plan, take proactive breaks, and increase gradually. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but what if I mess up? What if I have a flare-up? First, I want to say this. At some point, it's going to happen. You're going to have days where you do too much. That's normal. We're all human, and none of us have perfect willpower, and things change. If you have a flare-up, here's what you do. You go back to your baseline for a few days. You rebuild that foundation, and then you start increasing again. I also want to emphasize, if you do find yourself in a flare-up from overdoing it, this is not a failure on your part. You're simply collecting data. Every time you overdo it, you're getting a better understanding of your body and its capabilities. I often hear from my patients living with chronic pain that they feel like their baseline is low. The reality is, everyone living with chronic pain is in a unique situation, and there is no such thing as a low starting point. If your baseline for walking is 3 minutes, start there and gradually work your way up. It doesn't matter where you're starting. What matters is that you start where you are and build from there. Your baseline is not a reflection of your capability. It's a reflection of where your nervous system is right now. And your nervous system can and will change with these habits in place. In my 30 years of clinical practice and education and research, I've seen this exact framework transform many lives. They didn't just get back to their activities. They got back to a life of predictability, reliability, and hope. These aren't special cases. These are typical people who implemented this purposeful pacing process and added consistency back into their lives again. And so can you. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. Your pain is not your fault. Flare-ups are not a sign of weakness or a lack of willpower, and you have more power over it than you probably think right now. This process is not about doing less. It's about building the foundation to sustainably do more. It's about getting your life back, not in one big exhausting push, but in small, steady, sustainable steps. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one activity, find your baseline, create your plan, and then stick with it for 1 week. 1 week. That's all I'm asking. After a week of consistency, you're going to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Trust. Trust in your body. Trust that you can do this. Trust that recovery is possible. And that trust is the beginning of everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, feel free to subscribe to our channel and share this video with others who may find it beneficial.